Hello, 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 and welcome to the fabulous FRI-YAY broadcast of Miss Hope's Reading Hour. So glad to be with you all this evening. So, I did say I'd be here at 7 o'clock. I apologize for the tardies. Let me explain to you why. Because tonight is the last night of the Unteachables. Here it is. Let me put my hands on it so I know where it is. The last night of the Unteachables. Guess what? I go to come on to Miss Hope's Reading Hour and I cannot find the Unteachables. I was like, oh no, this can't be happening right now. I have to find the Unteachables. It is the last night of the Unteachables. I have to find it. Okay? So, I went looking for the Unteachables and it was under another book. That's how I found it. I'm like, okay, there's these stack of books here and one of the books is open. So let me lift it up and there goes the Unteachables. So, we have found it. It is here. In those last two chapters, we're going to get them in, okay? To find out what happens. Does Mr. Kermit keep his job? Okay. Let me not get ahead of myself. Also, my friends, I do realize that I was not here on the Wonderful Wednesday broadcast. The reason why that was because here in Pennsylvania and New Jersey and Delaware and New York, in Maryland, there were crazy storms from Hurricane Ida as it traveled up the United States. So our thoughts and prayers are with all of those in Louisiana and Mississippi and Georgia and those coastal states where they have to clean up so much stuff because they got a direct hit from the hurricane. And then we got tropical storm winds and a lot of rain. So there was something called a tornado warning here in Philadelphia and so the surrounding area. So me and my family were in the basement. Okay. So I could not come up to do the reading hour. I did want to tell you about that. It was a little scary, but we knew what to do. We followed all of the recommendations of the National Weather Service and the weathercasters on the news. So if ever, because I know many of you young ones and older young ones have cell phones. And if you ever hear an alert like that on your cell phone, make sure that you read it. Hopefully you're with someone who is able to read, if just in case you're a really young one and you can't read. Hopefully you are with someone who can. But my young ones and older young ones, if you are able to read, then make sure you read what it says on your cell phone and follow those directions because it will keep you safe. Okay. I remember we read a book called I Am the Storm, and we talked about different types of storms like tornadoes and sandstorms and hurricanes and thunderstorms. We talked about all of that stuff. So hopefully maybe in the next 2 weeks I will bring that one back so that we can get a little reminder. Okay. Hopefully you all had a wonderful week this week. Tongue-tied. Your Friday hopefully was fabulous so far. So here in Philadelphia, there still was a lot of damage. So school was closed today, but we still had school virtually. So we were still online and still learning, and the young ones in my class were catching on really fast. I was like, oh, Good job, you guys. So hopefully, if you had to stay home or if you were in school, you had a fabulous day, hopefully. And hopefully for my parent friends, teacher friends, parent teacher friends, and all adult friends of Miss Hope's Reading Hour, hopefully you had a fabulous FRI-YAY so far as well. So today. Oh, well, before I get to the books, just a reminder. After today, Miss Hope's Reading Hour will be on a 2-week hiatus. 2 weeks, two. The reason being because Miss Hope has a lot of homework to do and an oral presentation that will look kind of like this to do for my last class of my last semester before I get my bachelor's degree in college. So I want to make sure that I finish strong and do really well. So for the next 2 weeks, Miss Hope's Reading Hour will be on hiatus, but never fear, my friends. I will show some greatest hits of Miss Hope's Reading Hour. Maybe I'll look at the ones that had the most viewers. I don't know. We will see, or some that were my favorites. So if you had some favorites of Miss Hope's Reading Hour, on the Miss Hope's Reading Hour Facebook page and the YouTube page and the Facebook group, YouTube page, Instagram page, please let me know what your favorites were so I can bring those back and we can view them over the next 2 weeks, okay? So that is why we will be on hiatus. All right, I will miss you guys. I'll want to come on. I might forget one day that I'm on hiatus and be looking at books. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm on hiatus for 2 weeks. Let's focus on this schoolwork so we can finish strong, okay? All right, so let us get to the books. Today I was wondering, what should we read about today? Because as you see this ticker underneath here, we are dwindling down. I'm looking at my box right now. And even with the books I got from my friend, Miss Stoltzfus, it's still dwindling, okay? So if you would like to donate to Miss Hope's Reading Hour Library, all the information you need is right down here in the ticker, okay? Now, today I was wondering, what will we read about today? What are we going to read about? And I saw these 2 books, and these books are about, one of the books is about how you can change things in your life. Like if there's something that you don't like, that there's always a way that you can change it. Very interesting story. I read this one, and change happens as we are becoming. Just like you young ones and older young ones, as you get older, you are becoming more and more of the person that you want to be and need to be. So our next book is going to talk about becoming, okay? And of course, we're going to get to those last 2 chapters of The Unteachables because I've been really good. You guys should give me a round of applause. I have not read ahead, even though I have wanted to. I did not. So we will find out what happened in The Unteachables together, okay? All right, so our first book is called Ming Lo Moves the Mountain. Is that right? So, Ming Lo Moves the Mountain by Arnold Lobel. Let's find out how Ming Lo moved a mountain. That's pretty impressive, okay? Our next book is called Becoming a Good Creature. This is based on a New York Times bestseller. Young ones, remember, you don't have to be an older one to write a book that can be a bestseller, okay? So this book, the words are by Cy Montgomery, Pictures are by Rebecca Green. Becoming a Good Creature. And of course, I'm on the edge of my seat thinking about it. The finale of The Unteachables by Gordon Corman. This is the finale, my friends. The finale. I'm excited, okay? Now, let us read our first book called Ming-Lo Moves a Mountain. Let's change the ambiance a little bit for this one. All right, Ming-Lo Moves a Mountain. Let's find out how he does this. Who is the publisher of this book? Oh, this is a Scholastic book. So the words and illustrations are by Arnold Global. This book was written in 1982. Oldies but goodies. I read this book earlier today. I was like, oh, I like this book. Let's see how you enjoy it. Ming-Lo and his wife lived in a house at the bottom of a large mountain. They loved their house, but they did not love the mountain. Rocks and stones broke loose from the cliffs. They dropped down onto the house of Ming-Lo. The roof was full of holes. Clouds formed on the top of the mountain. Heavy rain fell from the clouds onto this roof that was full of holes. The rooms inside were damp and drippy. When the sun did shine, it never warmed the house of Ming-Lo. The mountain always cast a dark shadow. The flowers and vegetables in the garden grew thin and sparse. So they grew thin, and not many of them grew either. This mountain brings us nothing but unhappiness, said the wife of Ming-Lo. Husband, you must move the mountain so that we may enjoy our house in peace. My dear wife, said Ming-Lo, how can one small man such as I move a large mountain such as this? How should I know, said his wife. There is a wise man who lives in the village. Go and ask him. Whoa. Just to figure out how to move a mountain? It's pretty heavy. Ming-Lo hurried to the village. When he found the wise man, he said, I want to move the mountain that is near my house. The wise man thought for a long time. Wisps of smoke curled from his pipe. Finally, he said, Go home, Ming-Lo. Cut down the tallest, thickest tree you can find. Push this tree against the side of the mountain with all your strength. This is the way you will move the mountain. I wonder if it'll work. Ming-Lo ran home. He cut down the tallest, thickest tree that he could find. Ming-Lo and his wife held tightly to the tree. Running as fast as they could, they pushed the tree against the side of the mountain. The tree split in half. Ming-Lo and his wife fell on their heads. The mountain did not move an inch. "Go back to the wise man," said the wife of Ming-Lo. "Ask him to think of another way to move the mountain." Whew. I bet you they hit that mountain pretty hard. Again, the wise man thought for a long time. Rings of smoke blew from his pipe. Finally, he said, "Go home, Ming-Lo. Take the pots and pans from your kitchen. Hold a spoon in each one of your hands. With these spoons, hit the pots and pans as hard as you can. Raise your voice in loud shouts and cries. The mountain will be frightened by the noise. This is the way you will move a mountain." Didn't know you could scare a mountain. Ming-Lo ran home. He took the pots and pans from his kitchen. Ming-Lo and his wife held a spoon in each one of their 4 hands. They shouted and cried. They hit the pots and pans as hard as they could. They made a great noise. Flocks of birds flew out of the trees, but the mountain did not move at all. "Go back to the wise man," cried the wife of Ming-Lo. "We must find a way to move the mountain." That did not work. Ming-Lo watched as the wise man thought for a very long time. Clouds of smoke billowed from his pipe. Finally, he said, "Go home, Ming-Lo. Bake many cakes and loaves of bread. Bring them to the spirit who lives at the top of the mountain. The spirit is always hungry. He will be happy to receive your gifts. He will grant you every wish. Grant your every wish. This is the way you will move the mountain." Ming-Lo ran home with his wife. He baked platters of cakes and baskets of bread. Together they began the steep climb to the top of the mountain where the spirit lived. They felt a strong wind as they struggled up the high cliffs. It whistled and howled. Soon the air was filled with flying cakes and loaves of bread. There was nothing left for the spirit, and the mountain did not move. Without waiting for his wife to say a word, Ming-Lo went quickly back to the wise man. Yeah, he knew that was coming. "Help me to move this mountain so I may enjoy my house in peace," cried Ming-Lo. The wise man sat in deep thought for a long, long time. There was so much smoke coming from his pipe that he could hardly be seen. Finally, he said, "Go home, Ming-Lo. Take your house apart, stick by stick. Gather all these sticks that are the pieces of your house. Collect all of the things that are your possessions. Bind everything into bundles with rope and twine. Carry these bundles under your arms and on the top of your head. Face the mountain and close your eyes." What is that supposed to do? "Having done all this," said the wise man, "you will step to the dance of the moving mountain. You will put your left foot in a place that is in back of your right foot. Then you will put your right foot in a place that is in back of your left foot. You must do this again and again for many hours. When you open your eyes, you will see that the mountain has moved far away. This is a strange dance, said Minglo. But if it makes the mountain move, I will do it at once. Let's see if that works. Minglo ran home. He took his house apart stick by stick. He gathered all of the sticks and collected all of the things that were his possessions. Minglo and his wife bound everything into bundles with rope and twine. They carried the bundles in their arms and on top of their heads. Then Minglo showed his wife how to do the dance of the moving mountain. They faced the mountain and closed their eyes. Carefully, they began to move their feet to the steps of the dance. Wow, they had a lot of stuff. They each put their left foot in a place that was behind their right foot. Then they each put their right foot in a place that was behind their left foot. The neighbors saw Minglo and his wife walking backward across the fields with all of their possessions. It was an odd sight, and they watched in wonder. After many hours had passed, Minglo and his wife opened their eyes. "Look!" cried Minglo. "Our dance has done its work. The mountain has moved far away." I guess it has. Stick by stick, they built their house. They rebuilt their house. They unpacked all of their possessions and made themselves at home. Minglo and his wife lived the rest of their lives under an open sky and a warm sun. When rain fell, it came down gently on the roof that had no holes. They often looked at the mountain that was small in the distance. There was happiness in their hearts, for they both knew that they had made the mountain move. The end. So, my friends, did they really make the mountain move? Or did they move? It's up to you what you think. But I think that they moved. And that wise man was pretty wise, okay? They tried the things that would make the mountain move. But I believe that that wise man knew. I'm giving you these solutions to try to make the mountain move. But in the end, I'm going to tell you how you can move out of the way of the mountain. The mountain is hard to move. But you know what you can do? You can move yourself so that you don't have to deal with the mountain. Kind of like when you want things to change. It makes me think about when we're in school. And there might be somebody that you're sitting next to that isn't doing the right thing, or they're kind of annoying you a little bit. And you're like, I want them to move. I want them to leave me alone. I want them to get away from me. But you kind of don't have control over that. But what you do have control over is you. So maybe when you're in a situation where you feel like you don't have any control and you want to get away from it, Instead of wanting the thing to move, maybe the thing for you to do is for you to move. And once you make that move, once you make that change, then you'll be under an open sky, sun shining down, and you'll be in a much better situation. So think about that. Like when you're in school, or maybe if you're dealing with your brothers or sisters and the situation isn't the best that you'd want it to be, but you can't control whether they will move themselves out of the situation, but you can control what you do. And what you do is you can remove yourself from that mountain that you're dealing with. Very good book. Parent friends, teacher friends, parent teacher friends. It's an oldie but goodie, but it's a goodie, okay? Very good book. So glad I got to read it with you guys. Thank you, Miss Stoltzfus, for letting me find this in your whole big pile of books. Thank you. All right. Our next book, Becoming a Good Creature by Cy Montgomery. Let's see if it looks the same. Oh, it does. It looks the same under the dust jacket. Very nice. All right, let's change. Uh-oh. Just a second, friends. I lost my ambiance, y'all. I lost it, but it's all right. I'll bring it right back. It's okay. There we go. Just a second, friends. I closed it out by accident. There we go. Becoming a Good Creature by Cy Montgomery. All right. This is a Houghton Mifflin Harcourt book. School is not the only place to find a teacher. Sometimes we meet teachers in the forest, or in the barn, or in the ocean, or right in our own house. Some of my teachers have had 2 legs, while others had 4 or even 8. But all have taught me something important about how to be a good creature in the world. Find good teachers. When I was a little girl, I wanted to be a dog. I wanted to run really fast and see in the dark. I wanted to understand the sounds of my neighborhood, both wild and tame. I've encountered some young ones like this. I'm like, why are you barking? Maybe they wanted to be a dog too. But nobody could show me how until Molly. Molly was only a puppy when she came to live with us, but she was already gifted with special animal powers. So I watched her, I listened, and I learned that if we pay attention, the world outside beckons us. Even before I started school, Molly was my first teacher. Oh, she's a cute puppy. Discover your passions. When I grew up, I still hungered to learn about animals. In Australia, I met birds who stood almost as still as I did. Emus can't fly, but they run like the wind. What were their lives like? I wanted to know. So I moved to a tent in the wild to find out. For many months, I followed 3 emus and watched them like I had watched Molly. They showed me where they traveled and what they ate. And while I followed them, they also showed me my own path. I would go to places where animals lived. Each would be a new teacher, and I would write their stories. respect others. Next, I went to Africa to meet gorillas. I hiked in the mountains there for a long time. It was nothing like my home in New Hampshire. As I stopped to catch my breath, I saw a person running toward me. Why? Because a big gorilla was chasing him. But I didn't run. I crouched low and looked at the ground, as if bowing before a king. The gorilla stood, beat his chest, and let out a roar. And when he saw that I understood that he was boss, he turned and calmly led me to meet his gorilla family. Ever since that day, I've respected my animal hosts and their homes. Wow, that is amazing. Don't be afraid. In India, I met tigers. In Africa, I met lions. Oh, I could see how you might be a little afraid of that. They're really big animals. In the rivers of South America, I swam with piranhas and electric eels. In the ocean, I met sharks. None of them ever hurt me. Wow. That is amazing. Sometimes we have misconceptions about people and animals that we think are scary. Wait patiently. I traveled to Australia again, this time to meet a different bird. The cassowary, like the emu, is a tall bird who runs instead of flies. I was eager to meet one and spent a week trekking through their rainforest home. Looking around, no cassowary. An hour before I had to leave, I went one more time to say goodbye to the beautiful empty jungle. A cassowary stepped out from the trees before me. He was close enough for me to see his eyelashes. I was so glad that I had waited. Wow. Talk about patience. Make your own family. At home, animals continued to teach me. My husband and I didn't plan on having babies, but soon a baby came to us, a baby pig. We named him Christopher Hogwood. 2 little girls and their mother moved in next door. They saw Chris in the backyard and came to visit every day. He was a very happy pig. We weren't all related, but Christopher showed us that it didn't matter. We became one big family. My husband, our border collie Tess, our hens, the 2 little girls and their mom, and one very happy pig. Wow, that is a pretty big family you got there. See for yourself. I'd heard it all before. Hyenas are ugly. Hyenas are lazy. Hyenas are thieves. They steal food from lions. Everyone said so, even the Lion King. Then I visited a hyena den. The fluffy cubs rustled like playing puppies. Mothers tenderly licked their babies. And they weren't stealing food from lions. More often, lions stole food from them. Hyenas reminded me that what everyone says is not always true. Wow. That is amazing. Love little lives. I never gave spiders much thought until I met one in South America who was almost as big as a chipmunk. Oh my goodness. She was a sleek black tarantula with toes tipped in pink, like she just had a fancy pedicure. She lived in a potted plant at a nature center. We learned that she was a gentle kind of tarantula who can live for 30 years. We named her Clarabelle and let her walk across our hands each night. We think she liked us. We sure liked her. Clarabelle showed us that little lives matter as much as big ones. As big as a chipmunk? Oh, it's huge. Learn forgiveness. One Christmas morning, I found an intruder in our henhouse, a white-coated weasel. Though tiny, weasels are fierce. They catch and eat animals much bigger than themselves. They even eat chickens. Towering above him, I looked into the weasel's black eyes. Fearlessly, the little weasel stared back. How brave he was, and how beautiful in his snowy winter coat. I was dazzled by his determination and couldn't be angry at his will to survive. In the picture, looks like a beautiful animal. The weasels kind of look mousy-like, so you know how Miss Hope is about the rodents. Find common ground. Octavia had 8 arms, 3 hearts, no bones. She lived in the water. I lived on land. What could we possibly have in common? What could we have in common with an octopus? We both liked to play. As different as we were, we became friends. That is so cool. Can you imagine becoming friends with an octopus? Trust tomorrow. The little girls next door moved away. Our pig grew old. Our dog grew old. It felt like everything was ending. Then one day I got a phone call from our veterinarian. He told me that a neighbor's border collie had just had pups. They were all valuable dogs with important work to do, herding sheep, cows, and pigs when they grew up. All the babies already had farm families waiting for them. All but one. One puppy had a blind eye. Would I take him? Thurber taught me the best lesson of all. Even in the darkest times, there may be a wonderful new teacher waiting for you right around the corner. Oh, look at this cute little puppy. To all the creatures who have been my teachers, wild and tame, named and unnamed, animal and human, thank you for showing me a world more surprising, more alive, and far more glorious than I have ever imagined. Cy Montgomery. Wow. The end. What a wonderful book! I must admit, friends, I did not read this one before I read it to you. This is such a wonderful book. Great for any of your young ones or older young ones that love animals. Great for teaching how animals are important to our world and what they can teach us. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad I bought this book. Such a great book. Teacher friends, you want to wrap something into your science lesson about animals? This is an awesome book. So glad I got to read it with you guys. Oh man. And this is actually a good book for my adult friends because sometimes children's books are the best books to read to remind us of some things, remind us about how to forgive. Oh, wait a minute. Let me look at the book. There was one page, one of them that I was just like, oh, that is so cool. Common ground, playing, trust tomorrow. That even if something, something's in my eye. That even if something isn't great today, trust that tomorrow might bring something great, might bring something better than what you're dealing with today. Awesome book. So glad I got to read it with you guys. Thank you so much. All right, now, okay, you know where we are. You know where we are. You know where we are. We are at the final 2 chapters of The Unteachables by Gordon Corman. Okay, so where we were was that unfortunately, oh, I'm sorry, you guys, something's in my eye that's driving me nuts. Ooh, sorry guys. I think it's an eyelash. So, they did the science fair. Unfortunately, they came in second place, and it didn't save Mr. Kermit's job. The kids are upset. Mr. Kermit didn't come to school the next day, and they got Dawn of the Dead, the older woman, to be their substitute. And she was sitting and she's like, you know what, something's eating you guys. Come on, out with it. Tell me what it is. And so they started telling her, it's not fair. He's such a great teacher and he's done so much for us. It's not right, not fair. They just fire him like this. So she listens to them. And she has a long conversation with Mrs. Fountain. And then finally she says, well, it seems as if I've misjudged you young people. She's wrong about that, they said. Anything bad she thought about us last time goes double because we had the opportunity to help rid it. And we came up empty. So let's see if they actually did come up empty. Chapter 31. Mr. Kermit of The Unteachables by Gordon Corman. The Cocoa Nerd is back, in a manner of speaking. Not that anybody would recognize it, bears very little resemblance to the 1992 Chrysler Concorde Fiona picked out all those years ago. It looks like exactly what it is. A mean set of wheels designed by a bunch of 8th graders who think nothing is worth driving unless everybody's staring at it. Chrome, glitter paint, LED lights, tailpipes the size of cruise missiles, and an engine you can barely see over. I'm afraid to honk the horn. I know their taste in music. Even without racing fuel, this thing is a rocket. The first time I dared to tap the gas pedal, I nearly rear-ended a cement truck. Only Dale Earnhardt Jr. could drive this car. It should be outlawed by the government. I'm crazy about it. My kids built this for me. It's the second greatest gift they could have given me. Number one being the sight of Superintendent Thaddeus driving headfirst into a muddy flower bed, coming up fragrant with fertilizer, a chrysanthemum behind his ear. They're the best class any soon-to-be ex-teacher could ever hope to have. They even put a frog logo on the door in honor of my last name, Kermit the Frog. Come to think of it, the frog theme has been in place since the beginning of the year. More proof that the so-called unteachables have better heads on their shoulders than anyone suspected. I just never connected it with all that ribbiting before. I don't mind. It's kind of a tribute. On day one, a cop pulls me over just to get a good look at what I'm driving. The officer writes out a ticket giving me 1 week to cover up the engine. I call Jake, who promises to design a hood that complies with the law. He also agrees to raise the seat 4 inches so I'll be able to see the road in front of me. I don't want the kids working on it, I insist over the phone. They've done more than enough for me already. I've loved being their sponsor, Jake replies. They're a fantastic group. A brief pause. Too bad not all of your classes measured up to their level. He's 1000% right about that. Who'd know better than Jake, who single-handedly made the 1992 class a nightmare and messed up my life in the process? On the other hand, 19 transformation of Jake Terranova has been no less dramatic. Oh, had a little break. Plus, a few days ago, I spotted his Porsche parked in front of Greenwich Diamond Exchange, and Jake himself inside examining velvet trays of rings. Fiona's daughter could definitely do worse. People change, I tell my former student. You're a good guy, Jake. Jake actually gets choked up on the other end of the line. I never ruined anyone's life, but apparently it's almost as hard on the messer as it is on the messy. I go back to school on Wednesday, not because I care one way or the other whether the place is still standing, but because I don't want the kids to think I blame them for not winning the science fair. In fact, the opposite is true. They exceeded my wildest expectations. They've been doing that on a daily basis ever since they dumped the Vuvuzela shipment in the river. Another thing about the new and improved Coco Nerd. It's unparkable. Those external tailpipes make it as wide as a ferry boat. But I finally get it jammed in between Emma's Prius and the pickup truck belonging to the Elias farm. The door opens and I have about 4 inches of clearance to squeeze myself through. Amazingly, I make it. I've been slimming down lately thanks to the mustard on toast diet. Since I'm going to be out of a job soon, maybe it's time to reinvent myself as a weight loss guru. I'll be rich, or at least I'll be able to afford gas for the Coco Nerd. For the Coco Nerd's 585 horsepower engine. I've barely set foot on the entrance foyer when Principal Vargas rushes up and grabs me by the arm. Zachary, I need to talk to you. Later, I promise her, I want to reassure my class now. She literally drags me into her office and shuts the door. She's obviously she's obviously been staking out the front hall. It can only mean one thing. Thaddeus is using the events of the science fair to fire me effective immediately. The superintendent is so mad that he won't even let me finish out the semester. So, I say bitterly, is Thaddeus planning to axe me in person, or has he got you doing the dirty work for him? In answer, she presses a copy of the Greenwich Telegraph into my hand. I don't even glance down at it. How do you like it, Christina? On some level, I regret unloading my emotions on the principal, who has never been anything except supportive. But I'm just too upset to hold it inside. How does it feel to wield the hatchet for him? Read it, Zachary, she orders. Superintendent to super teacher. You're fired. Greenwich Telegraph Local News by Martin Landsman, staff reporter. It's the goal of every community to create a school system in which each pupil is inspired to excel. This can't be accomplished without great teachers. But an educator who can truly transform lives, the lives of his or her students, is the rarest of gems. Meet Zachary Kermit, teacher of the self-contained special 8th grade class at Greenwich Middle School. By any objective measure, Mr. Kermit has performed a miracle. His students' test scores are up 87% this semester. SCS 8 took second place at the competitive district science fair. Disciplinary problems have virtually disappeared. Most impressive of all, the atmosphere in his classroom, formerly one of Greenwich's most difficult, has become nurturing, supportive, enthusiastic, and successful. And there's no mistaking the students' opinions of their teacher. They adore him. And what's Mr. Kermit's reward for this remarkable achievement? A letter of commendation? A bonus? A promotion? No, a pink slip. He's been terminated effective the end of the semester. I read on. The reporter calls out Dr. Thaddeus by name and demands to know why the best teacher in the district is being fired. He accuses the superintendent of holding a personal grudge dating back to the cheating scandal in 1992. And he includes a quote from a member of the 1992 class, the prominent local business owner Jake Terranova, guaranteeing that what happened back then wasn't the teacher's fault. The article concludes, Dr. Thaddeus, this message is for you. It's time to put petty grievances aside and remember who our education system is supposed to serve, our children. I look up at my principal. Who wrote this? I squint at the byline. Who's Martin Landsman? And how did he find out about my class? Beatrice Landsman is the sub who covered your group on Monday. Martin is her son. I guess the kids gave her quite an earful. There's something else, something special. I have to work hard to keep my voice steady. Every time I think I've seen the best they have to offer, they climb one rung higher. That's why I'm anxious to get to my room. We don't have many more days together. That's what I've been trying to tell you, she exclaims. Everyone in town has seen this article. The district offices are buried in phone calls and emails. You're not fired anymore. I'm stunned. Daddy has changed his mind? He didn't have much choice. You're a hero. And that means you can finish out the year and take your early retirement in June. Congratulations, Zachary. I'm so pleased for you. A flood of relief and satisfaction washes over me, and yet, for some reason, I'm not as thrilled as I thought I'd be at such good news. Where's the happy, the joy, the triumph at beating back that overblown, self-important tyrant of a superintendent? It comes to me in a moment of clarity. The problem isn't the reinstated part. It's the part about retiring in June. Why would I fight off Thaddeus's attempt to force me out in December, only to exit voluntarily a few months later? The Unteachables have done a lot for me this semester. But their greatest gift is this. They showed me that I'm still a teacher. I have a lot to offer students, not just this class, but many classes to come. I'm not retiring, I tell her. Sign me up for next year. She stares at me uncertainly. Zachary? I head for the door. And I want SCS 8, nobody else. If anyone has questions, I'll be with my kids. I stride to room 117 with an energy and a sense of purpose I haven't known in decades. By the time I get there, my feet are barely touching the floor. So I'm a little shocked when I see how down the students are. Here I am on top of the world and they're positively drooping. Barnstorm's left crutch is the only thing keeping him from falling out of his chair. Raheem's head is on the desk again, but he isn't sleeping. He's just too depressed to sit upright. Even Aldo is missing his usual belligerent expression, making him look almost agreeable. And there isn't a single ribbit. Not one. I sit down at the edge of my desk. I have an announcement to make. Kiana stands up. Us first, Mr. Kermit. Her voice is thin and watery. We're really sorry we couldn't win the science fair for you. We came so close, but in the end, it just wasn't enough. Maybe it's true what everybody says, that we're a bad class. I leap to my feet. Don't ever say that. You're the best class in this school, and I know because I've been shuffling around to most of them. You've got nothing to be sorry for. Besides, I add, realizing that I should have said this first part, I'm not fired anymore. Head snapped to attention, even Raheem's. Elaine jumps up, sending her chair skittering. You're messing with us, Barnstorm accuses. For real, Mr. K? Says Parker, his eyes huge. For real, I confirm. I can't explain it exactly, because I'm not sure I understand it myself, but it has a lot to do with, that's as far as I get. They swarm the desk, cheering, howling, almost knocking me over, battering me with high fives. Their behavior is loud, unruly, borderline violent, completely unacceptable. I accept it. They've earned that and much more. Emma rushes over from next door to investigate the ruckus. Ribbit isn't fired anymore, Parker yells at her. And she joins the celebration, unruly as any of the kids. I can't help noticing she's wearing an engagement ring, a big one. I'm not her father, but in a strange way, I feel like a proud parent. Enough! Settle down, everybody. I glare my unteachables back to their seats. Just because we've got some good news doesn't mean this isn't a school. Haven't you got work to do? There's a shuffling sound as books, papers, and iPads are pulled out of desks. Aldo and Elaine disappear behind their copies of Where the Red Fern Grows. That's wonderful, Mr. Kermit, Emma breathes as she heads back to her own class. We're going to have something inspiring to talk about during circle time. As I sit down, I catch a flash of sunlight reflecting off the red and silver of the cocoa nerd out in the parking lot. We have a lot in common, that car and I. Just like me, it was a beat-up old wreck on the verge of falling apart at any moment. But we were refurbished, both of us, brought back to life by 7 unteachables. No! The cry from Aldo is pure agony. I turn to him in alarm. Aldo, what's wrong? His face is redder than his hair. and streaked with tears. Old Dan and little Ann, he gasps, waving where the red fern grows in front of him. They're dead, both of them. Heavy, Elaine agrees, her expression solemn. Well, I begin choosing my words carefully. Some stories. Aldo cuts me off. I read one book all the way through, just one. And this is what I get for it? The cover should come with a sticker warning, do not read unless you hate dogs. The kid is totally inconsolable. By 8th grade, most readers have already experienced plenty of devastating, sad endings. But in Aldo's case, this is the first novel he's ever finished. I turn to the Good Bunnies chart, pluck a puffy tail from the Ziploc baggie and affix it next to Aldo's name. Well done. You showed empathy in reacting to a piece of literature. Congratulations. Aldo seems shocked at first. Then, amid a smattering of applause, he walks to the front of the room, removes his one and only puffy tail, and offers it to Kiana. Fair is fair, he says bravely. I owe you a lot more than just this one. Please keep it, Kiana tells him. He shakes his head. It has to work like a market economy. She looks at me. Come on, Mr. Kermit. Do I have to take it? Even in a market economy, there's a such thing as giving someone you like a present if you want to. Aldo's eyes widen, and his hair seems to become just a touch redder. Or maybe it's a reflection of the sudden flush in his cheeks. I issue my ruling. Absolutely, a lender is allowed to forgive a debt. And Aldo Braff, the toughest case in the entire Greenwich School District, throws his arms around Kiana and hugs her. My career has taken some strange detours, yet here I am surrounded by the worst class I've ever had in every way but one. The fact that they're the best class I've ever had. Somehow it feels like I'm exactly where I'm meant to be, doing exactly what I was meant to do, teaching the unteachables. Chapter 32, Kiana Rubini. My mother is going to be a movie star. Well, not exactly. I guess she's a pretty good actress, though. As soon as her movie wraps in Utah, she gets offered a part in another film that's shooting next month in British Columbia. This one has a big budget, so it's a great career move. It also means the studio is willing to hire me a tutor so I can live with Mom while she's on location. I hope she isn't too upset when I tell her thanks but no thanks. I actually kind of surprised myself with that answer, considering how anxious I've been to blow this popsicle stand. And believe me, it's not because Aldo asked me to the fall ball, which is this big dance they throw before Thanksgiving break. I'm never going to be the kind of girl who drops everything and changes all of her plans because of some guy. Stepmonster did that. She left Chicago to come to Greenwich to marry Dad, and she still regrets it. Not the marrying my dad part, but she's always complaining that you can't get any decent pizza around here. I know this is pretty unexpected, me being temporary and all, but that's the life of a short timer. You are one until you aren't one. You start putting down roots. I've got friends and a baby brother who'll be taking his first steps in the next few months. Besides, Stepmonster finally got around to registering me at school, so I probably owe it to her to hang around for a while. A few days later, Mom calls from the Vancouver airport to see if I've changed my mind. Shooting starts in 3 more days. So this is the last chance for the studio to bring a tutor. That's okay, I tell her. I've decided to finish out the year here. Besides, I add, smiling to myself, you don't hire a tutor for an unteachable like me. Oh, the end. Oh, that ending was so good. So good. Sorry, guys. I slammed the book down. Oh my goodness. That ending was so good. I am so glad I got to share that with you guys. We went a little bit over about by 6 minutes, but that's okay. It's all right. The Unteachables was amazing. I love it. I loved it. Hopefully you guys loved it too. So, my upper elementary, middle school teacher friends, this is a good one, okay? Good one. So glad I got to share that book with you and the other books that we shared today. So do remember, Miss Hope's Reading Hour will be on hiatus for the next 2 weeks so I can get my homework done, okay? Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you. I believe it's going to be on the 20th. Monday the 20th will be our next new live Miss Hope's Reading Hour. And hopefully all of this will be changed, okay? It will be different when I come back on the 20th. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, all of you, my young ones, old young ones, parent friends, teacher friends, parent-teacher friends, and all friends of Miss Hope's Reading Hour. Well, with all of that being said, until the 20th, my friends, I will see you then.